go. This is September 2024. It is test h11. So the first one is f of -2. So we're going to plug -2 in there and get 3 times -8 minus 7 is -24 minus 7, -31. Ding, 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 calculator application. -2 stows as x, and now all I have to do is type in the function, which is 3x cubed minus 7. You know that hitting stow allows it to be in there. -31. Number 2 is not probability. What's the probability that we'd select a card? A is 1 out of 8. So not is 1 minus 1 over 8, or the other 7 probabilities. Also calculator app, 1 minus 1/8 Matha Fracca. You know that probability fact. If the probability that it would rain is 40%, then what's not rain? 1 minus. This one isn't too bad. You just have to add up the numbers and divide by 6. Why is that? We want the average. So I'll spare you the calculator. The sum is 260, and there are 6 ratings. So it's 260 divided by 6. I think that's 43. Closest to it, best estimate. So the answer is 43. Page 2. What is the probability that we'll play a country song? Well, that's the number of country songs, 72, over the total of those numbers. So what's 153 plus 72 plus 14, and there was one more number, 121. So it's country songs, which I think is 72 over that number. 72 divided by the answer, or divided by 360, will give you 20% chance that it would hit. So that answer would be H.2. This one's a backwards one, and I got confused because they said the bus has 0 passengers, and they don't tell you what happens on step 1. And we finish with 13 at the end. So all I did was plug and chug. Naturally, I'll choose C first, and that's the right answer. If I pick up 3, that's 30. If I drop off half, that's 15. If I pick up 11, that's 15 plus 11, 26. And if I drop off half, I'll end up with the 13. So lucky me, my first choice was the right one. Ding, 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 ding. Hypotenuse program. What is the math? And you can go alpha H if you want to go straight. Oh, I must have hit the wrong letter. Alpha H for hypotenuse, and the legs were 3 and 8. So the answer is the square root of 73, or 8.5. Correct answer, H. This one might stretch a little bit. X plus Y is 100 plus -20 is equal to the product of -5 and what? So that's simply solved by dividing 80 by -5, and you get -16. Could have gone to solver, but I don't think you needed to. These are tricky. This is when they define an operation. So A cross B is defined as the left guy squared times the second guy squared, times second number. So A cross B is 100. A is 5, so you want to square the 5 and get 25 times what is 100. So the answer is 100 divided by 25. Here's a famous one. They want the distance between T and the midpoint of RS. Well, that's 3 away from S and R. So the answer is just 16 plus 3, choice D. Matrices, ding, 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 ding. A minus B. Well, did I show you in class how to do a matrix? You go alpha F3, and that's a 2 by 2, and then you minus the second matrix, alpha F3, which is another 2 by 2, and now I just have to enter the numbers to get it. So the first one is negative 2, 6, 3, negative 8. I hope that's right. Doing it on the slide here. 8, 5, 1, negative 4. 8, 5, 1, negative 4, and that would give me the answer negative 10, 1, 2, negative 4, which is G. Huh? Okay, y'all got that? A negative slope, we go over this in algebra. Positive lines go up, negative slopes go down. Negative y-intercept means the y-intercept is below the origin, so that has to be line R, choice E. The vertex angle of an isosceles is the one at the top, and the other two have to make 180. So you just go 180 minus 34 to see what's left, and then divide that number by 2. So the two base angles would have to be 73 each to add up to 180. This one has a bunch of ways. I like using ding, 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 simult. It says I sold 40 figurines, so that's large plus small is 40, and the money is the same. So a large sells for $12, and a small sells for $4. And that money I received is the same, so you want to move the 4S over to the other side and get it to 0. So that would be large plus small is 40. So it would be program simult, and all you would have to do is put them in the coefficients. So it would be 1, 1, 40, and then 12 minus 4 is 0. When you do 12 minus 4 is 0, the large will come first, is 10, and the small would be 30, so the large is 10. And of course, we could also plug and chug. Once I know these prices, I could start with 20 each. Well, that won't work. 20 times the 12 won't equal 20 times the 4. So then you can check it out from there. Now, in a arithmetic sequence, I go ahead and make the blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th term is 4. And the 8th term is 12. It's arithmetic, which means I'm adding the same number each time. I'm adding 8. So why don't we go backwards, and I'll subtract 8. I can do it all the way to the beginning, and notice they want the second term. Notice I don't do any formulae or anything. I just write them out. If you've got 14 wins and 11 losses, you've won 14 out of 25 games. So that would be a measure of 56% in your winning percentage. Now, how many more games do we have? 12. So we're going to end up with 37 games. Well, what's half of 37? Would be 50% of 37. So if I go times 50%, I would get 18.5. You can't win that many games. You need to win 19 games. So what is that? 14 to 19. I need 5 more games. Plug in 6. So whenever ACT gives you a formula, they're going to give you either the H or the T. Well, the T is 6 seconds. So why don't we go 6 sto T? I honestly wouldn't do T. I would just do X. And then what is the equation? Negative 4.9 T squared. So T would be right there, squared. Plus 49T plus that original velocity of 980. And that should give me the answer I'm looking for, which is 1097. Let's hope that's on there. Boom! There it is, answer G. Now this one is the first term of pattern A is 2. Each subsequent term is to multiply by 2 and subtract 1. So that would be 2 times 2, 4 minus 1. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 1. And 5 times 2 minus 1 is 9. And then B is to start with 2, and you subtract 1 and multiply by 2. Well, that's not going to do anything. If you subtract 1, you get 1. Then times it by 2, you get 2 every time. And what is the sum of the fourth terms is 11. I'll tell you a funny story. When I did this problem, not so funny, is I didn't see that it was the sum of the fourth terms. So I spent an hour adding all these up and saying, wait, the answer isn't there. Back and read it again. Ding, 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 ding. This is trin fact. So you just have to factor this by hitting program, basic, and then go down to trin fact. And the factors were 1 for 1x squared, negative 1, and negative 156, and that'll give you the factorization x plus 12 times x minus 13, and x minus 13 is f. No biggie here. Remember, when you do an inequality, you solve it just like an equality. So when I divide by 4, now, there's no switching of the arrows. You only switch the arrows when you divide by a negative b. You could play on the calculator a little bit here. If y is an irrational number, like the square root of 2, or the square root of 5, or pi, well, 15 times those things is also going to be irrational. Okay? It's not going to get to be rational, timesing it by 15. It's certainly not imaginary or undefined by if you times something by 15. And besides, it won't math a fracca. notice the idea of square root of 2 is that it doesn't math a fracca because you can't do it. It's irrational. So 15 times that won't math a fracca either, I hope, because it wouldn't be a rational number. This one you can reason just by looking at the graph. The y-intercept has to be 1.7, so that's either B or D. And the slope, what did we say a minute ago, is going down. So it's got to be a negative slope, and the answer is B. Keep it on, keep it on. Ding, 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 ding. Midpoint. So it's 2, 6, and 10, 14. Let's see if I can remember that. I think I hit alpha M a while ago, and it's just midpoint. And wouldn't you know it, I already forgot. 2, 6, and 10, 14 are the average of the points and the midpoints of the average of the x's and the average of the y. It's 6, 10. Okay? This one bothered me. I am going to throw this thing around the, let's see, a machine blade shape is rotated about a mechanical shaft. The figure on the left is the blade at rest, and it generates a solid. Well, if you rotate this triangle around, don't you see the ice cream cone? It's got to be choice A, because it's just going to go this way and make a sort of conic shape right there. And there it is. It's an ice cream cone. This one's hard. The sum of two numbers is 22, and their squares is 260. So that would be hard to do by substitution. You would have to call x 22 minus y. You can't do simul for this. And you could do equation solver. So it would be math last, solver. The right side is 22 minus, I'll just put x in there, plus x squared, just because x is easier. And then what is that horrible answer? 260. And then let's see if it'll solve for us. 8. So one of the numbers is 8, and the other one, 8 plus what, is 22. It would have to be 8 and 14. So the answer is 14 times 8, which would be 112. This one had to be read closely. The answer is E. We would have to reflect A over the axis. So it would become that. And then it would slide over to the left and slide safely right onto the top of B. Where are we now? The center of the circle is 5, 4. Well, the highest y, y'all, if the radius is 3, is 3 up. So you take the 5, 4, and you add 3 to the y. So 7 is the biggest dude. 27. Doesn't this have to be an x square graph? It's got to be a parabola. It's upside down so that A would be negative. But I'm done. None of these other form graphs make that. It's got to be x squared. Huh? Okay. So here we go. A car holds 16 gallons and it's 3/4 full. So if it's 16 gallons and it's 3/4 full, what would you do? You would times it by 3/4. You could do that on the calculator, but it's got 12 gallons, huh? And I get 22 miles per the gallon. So if I got 12 gallons, how many miles can I drive? What's 12 times 22? I don't know. I need a calculator just like you do. I can travel 264 miles. So if I travel 231 miles, how many miles do I have left? I can go 33 more miles, but that's not what they want. They want how many gallons. So what do I get? I get 22 miles to the gallon. So isn't the answer 33 divided by 22? And it's kind of obvious that it would be 1.5, huh? Because the 22 gets me 1 gallon gets me 22 miles, so 1.5 would get me to 33 miles. I call those mathematic gymnastics. You just play with the numbers till you score. Here's a fun one. It's the Hypotenuse Hall of Fame. You could put all these in, and that to be outside the radius of 10, you'd have to have a hypotenuse greater than 10. Well, I know this one is 10, and then I know this one has to be greater than 10. You could also use the Hypot program and put in 10 and 1 and see that indeed it would go outside of 10. So alpha, let's see if I get it right this time. H, A is 10 and B is 1. Well, of course, the hypotenuse would be bigger than 10 at 10.04 and therefore outside of the circle. Almost halfway home. This is a killer series one. Is I get $1 on the first day, then 2, then 3, all the way to 365. Well, there's a great trick for adding all those numbers. What's 1 plus 365? Well, what's 2 plus 364? 366. What's 3 plus 363? They're all 366. And how many 366s do you get? It's 365 over 2, because there's 365 numbers, which means this many pairs. This formula says exactly what I just said. So the answer is 366. Second quick clear to get out of here. 366 times 365 over 2, and you get that big number of 66,795. G of f of 5, usually we do this in a function sense by plugging in numbers, but here they do it on a table. This is the F table. What happens when I plug in 5 is I get the answer 4. Now what are you supposed to do? Plug 4 into G. So if I plug 4 into G, I get -5, and that's my answer. Hey, let's try it the other way, just for fun. What would f of g of 5 be if you did that? I'll wait a second and give you the answer. I would get 7. So the answer, of course, is C, -5. Parallel lines. This is the famous supplementary. If this angle was 70, the corresponding would be 70. Next to 70 would be 110. These two angles, y'all, they're called same side interior. They add up to 180. So 4x plus 20 is 180. I could use equation solver for that, but instead the answer is 40. This is a FOIL using radicals and then subtracting this. 2 root 7 times root 7 is 2 times 7, 14, minus 2 root 7 plus root 7 minus 1, and then this is minus root 7 plus 1. So this is 14. The 1's cancel. These cancel. So you get 14 minus 2 root 7. I got away on the calculator too. You could just plug this in. 2 root 7. And what was it? Plus 1 times root 7 minus 1 minus root 7 minus 1. Now you're going to be very dissatisfied with the answer because it's radical. Well, guess what it writes up to? 14 minus 2 root 7. You could match it up to the answer. That's a clever way I use when I don't know what I'm doing. There you go. Ding, 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 ding. The calculator does I. All you got to do is negative 2i. Second decimal. I always forget. 3 plus 4i. And then what's after that? Minus 3, 2, I forget on the way, plus 5i. You wouldn't have to do this. You would be staring at it, huh? And it's 2 minus 21i. Choice H. Watch out for these. In this case, the denominator is the total. It's not a conditional total like the one coming up. So what's the chance of me getting vanilla with sprinkles is 77 over 645. Make sure that matches up. And that's about 12% chance. Let's see if that number's on here. This one's funny. It's about equality. At negative 2, the function is 3. So it's got to be which choice? It's got to be the first one. Okay? It's not 5 when it's equal to negative 2. So it can't be that. And this has the equals to. That's the only one that matches it up. So it's got to be 5 when x is to the left of negative 2. It's got to be 2 when x is greater than negative 2. And at negative 2, its value is 3. That's called a piece function. Never see those till now. This is what I was talking about a minute ago. This is conditional probability. So we're deciding whether we like or dislike banana bread from those who like cornbread. So you're only choosing from these people. So it's only from 160, not from 249. And of course, what's the deal? 82 dislike banana bread. So the answer would be B. They love this lately. When I say 49 to the 1/2, the half refers to the square root. If I said 8 to the 2/3, the 3 refers to the cube root. So this one is the B root of 8 to the A. The B sneaks in right here. Sorry, bad penmanship. It's got to be choice K. Huh? 39. I've got 6 digits, and this is the factorial concept. Any of the 6 digits can go first, and then I lose one. So it's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And I'll show you a little trick. That's under probability. It's the factorial button. That multiplies 6 on down. So that's 720 numbers. Haven't seen this one in a minute. The denominator for the first one is the famous factorization. And the denominator for this one is that famous factorization where you factor out the 7. Well, who's the least common denominator? I need all of these and the 7. I don't need the x minus 1 twice. So it would be 7, x minus 1, x plus 1. Answer J. 6 flips is not enough to determine fairness. If I threw 6 straight heads, I might start suspecting things, but it's certainly not enough for statistical verification. Here we go, the famous 30, 60, 90. Well, the side opposite the 30 is 10, so the hypotenuse is double, and what's the 60? 10 radical 3. So the triangle's area is 1/2 the altitude times the base, which is 12, and that ends up being half of 10, 5 times 12, 60 radical 3. Trying to think if you could do that with SOHCAHTOA as well. We haven't done SOHCAHTOA yet today. And I could find the altitude by doing the tangent of 60 would equal the opposite over the adjacent. So it would be 10 times the tangent of 60. How about program? Ding, 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 ding. Area of a triangle. So the base would be 12. And the 10 tangent of 60 would be the altitude, and the base would be 12. And I hope I'm in the right mode to get the answer. Nope, I should be in degree mode. I forgot to reset that. Let's do it again. So it would be 10 tangent of 60. This is why I want you in degree mode. 12, and you get that number, 103.9. Well, match it up. What is 60 square root of 3? Bada bing. Nailed it right on the exactamundo. How we doing? This is a fun one. We did area of triangles so much, I won't draw it to scale, but the sides are 6.2, 10, and 14. Now the angles, y'all, biggest has to be opposite biggest, and smallest would have to be opposite smallest. Well, what do I do to find the area? I drop the altitude there and do sine of 39 is A over 6.2. So the altitude is 6.2 sine of 39. And what would the base be? 14. So it'd be 14, and that should give me an answer 27.3. One quiz. So the answer would be 27, and we're rolling. See you tomorrow. This one causes a little pain. What percent have a salary greater than 5,000? Well, that's these 9 people out of 12. So it's 9 over 12. As a percent, you could times it by 100, or just look at it. It's 75%. Choice J. And they get weirder. Rodrigo's, let's see, Rodrigo is a hardware engineer. So a hardware engineer makes $5,500, and the difference of their salaries is greater than 800. So she either has to be 800 more than that, or 800 less. So less than 4,700 or more than 6,300 are the 2 right answers for the problem. And let me finish this last one. It's the job of software engineer is now 6,500. So what you want to do is the average before and after. So you take all those numbers, and I go 1 times 7,500, 5 times 6,000 to get the sum. So that would be 7,500 plus 5 times 6,000 plus 3 times 5,500 plus 2 times 4,500 plus the last guy's just 3,000, just one of those, and that's the 12 people, huh? So the salary monthly is 5,500. Now add to the total, because software engineer, the 5 of them will increase by 500. So instead of having a total of 66,000, the total goes up 500 5 times, huh? Because all 5 people will get the raise, and you divide that by 12, and that gives you a salary of 5,708, which is how much more than 5,500? It's about 208. Boom. The answer is J. Problems. All right, what's next? Reflection of a graph, huh? So if I'm reflecting it over the x-axis, that means it's negative. So I got a negative in front. Right 3 is an opposite rule. So right 3 means x minus 3. You know your shift rules. And then that's it, huh? The graph of which of these is the result of these 2 transformations. So it's got to have a negative, and it's got to have a minus 3. So the choice is A, right? It would have to be, it couldn't be these. Those would move it up 3, and down 3. So that would not be what they're talking about. They want to move it to the right 3. Do you remember that shift rule from class? It's minus 3. Hey, this is halfway factored. How's your factoring? x4 minus 9 would break down into what? x squared plus 3 and minus 3, huh? Well, this is only going to be equal to 0 when it's imaginary. because x squared would have to equal the negative, the square root, the negative square root, which there ain't no such thing. So this answer's thrown out. They only want real solutions, and this guy is going to give you the two real solutions. X squared equals root 3, so x equals what? Plus or minus the square root of 3. You could have used equation solver. Watch my equation solver work. Math solver. And this is a beautiful solver because all you have to do is enter x4 minus 9 and it's set equal to 0. Great use of solver. Okay, solve. And look at that answer, 1.73. Some of y'all know your square roots from the old days. What is the square root of 3? Cha-ching, that's equal to the square root. So that's how I know that this is a legit answer. Conversions are all over this thing. I'm traveling how fast? 45 miles in 1 hour. But I don't want to travel miles. I want to travel a foot, So I want to get rid of the miles. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And I want to do it in seconds, So 60 seconds is a minute. 60 minutes is an hour. So 1 hour is 3,600. Don't be mad. That's 60 times 60, right? So it would be 45. I hate having to leave on y'all. 45 times 5,280 divided by 3,600, which is just 60 twice, And that's 66 feet per second, So when all is said and done, I'm going 66 feet in 1 second. So how long will it take me to go 100 feet? Cross multiply, So 66x is 100. So x would be 100 divided by 66, which is about 1.5 seconds, which should make sense to you if you're going at 66 feet, add 33.99, it's about 1.5 seconds. Volume of cylinder. They give you the formula down here, but we don't need it. The radius is 8 and the height is 10, So if you go, volume of cylinder, ding, 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 is the last thing we did. And what was the radius? 8. And the height is 10. So the cylinder has a volume, notice the pi is attached, of 640 pi. And it fills at 40 pi units per minute. So don't you just divide by 40 pi? The pi's cancel, and it's 640 over 40, 16 minutes to fill. I'm almost home. This one, oh, this is a great equation solver. Look at it. And this is why you want the all-famous math last. You're going to have to do it in, I can put it as a fracca. You can on the old ones. And what was it? It was 3 to the x. You would need a bunch of parentheses times 3 to the 4th. I'll help you do it later. And it's over, what was at the bottom? 3 to the 4th flows to the 7th. And it's equal to 1/9. Okay, solve. Boom, the answer's 22. That's how easy this equation works. If you're an official kind of guy, the top is 3 to the x plus 4, power times a power, you add the power, and the bottom is 3 to the 28th. So when you divide, you subtract the exponents, and 9 is 3 to the minus 2. So all you're really doing is solving that, which makes 22. They counted the check the wrong way. So instead of, I wrote the check, which is a minus, that means I paid my bill, but I added 18, so it's twice, it's a double error. Instead of minus an 18, I added 18, so I'm 18 times 2, $36 more than I had. This one ain't so bad. They don't tell me what this is, so I do my old X trick, and that makes the area of the bottom rectangle 15x, right? Now, what's the top triangle? It is 1/2 the altitude, 4 times the base x. So isn't it just 15x plus 2 into 4 goes 2? So it's 17x equals the whole pentagon. So ain't the answer just 200 divided by 17? Because I'm solving for what the x is. And the answer is 11.8, I guess. Choice C. Oh, my students were mad at me for this. Have you taken trig? 150 degrees is typically this. So that would be the right answer, except they snuck in a what? The radius is 2. So you have to times both of those numbers by 2 to get the right input. See, that's a number from the unit circle. But this radius is times 2, so you have to times both of those numbers by 2. I felt bad. I had just started trig in my class, and they all went, oh, there it is, because I made them memorize the 150. But careful, the radius is twice as big. I think a few of them survived. This one, you just add up all these distances. So it's 1/8 plus 1/4 4 times, that's 1, plus 1/2 2 times, plus 5/8 twice, plus 3/4 plus 7/8. Now when you add all those up carefully on the calculator, you end up getting 5 miles. Well, how can he do this? He does it 1/2 mile each day. So it's 5 divided by 1/2, which is simply 5 divided by 0.5, or 1/2. It's going to take the man 10 days to do the job. Choice E. Expected value is just the product of the number and the probability. Well, I can do 0 times 0.06 in my head. That's nothing. 1 times that. 2 times 0.18. 3 times that I can't do. 4 times, that's 0.88. And this is 0.4. Let me do 3 times 34 is going to be 102, I think. So add up all these numbers, and that's the expected value for the day. Let's see if I can do it without the calculator. 48, 1.5, 1.9. 1.9 plus 88 is 2.78. Well, that's for one day. So the expected value is 2.78 for one day. So what will it be for 100 days? You just times it by 100. Great use of trig right here. If you're set to degree, if you're set, you can solve this on the calculator. It's 2 cosine, let's see, math last is solver. So the left side is 2 cosine, well, I have to open another parentheses, what was it, plus 1 times cosine x minus 1, and that's supposed to be equal to 0. Now when you hit F5 twice, it's going to give you the first answer. This will probably confuse a lot of people, that e to the minus 5 is 0. Now what I tell people is put another number in there, like 200, and hit solve. It gives you 240, that's no good. Hit 150, hit solve, that's 120, there's the other solution. Hit 60, solve, and that should get, we're back to the 0. So the two answers there are 0 and 120. You can figure those out by just pressing wildly. Last one's not a bad last one. Circumference of a circle's 2 pi r. So circumference here is 16 pi equals 2 pi r. Divide by 2 pi, and what's the r? 8, huh? But we're going to put a square inside with the radius 8. Know your trig? All of these are 8 and make a right angle. So this, you could use hypotenuse if you want. It's going to give you 8 radical 2 times 4. I wonder if hypotenuse would work for that as well. Methinks so, because the two legs are 8. So you'd hit alpha h and hit hypotenuse 8 and 8, and it would give you the hypotenuse 11.31. Then take that 11.31 and multiply it by 4. Oops, it's not doing it. 11.31 times 4 will give me something that would match up the 32 radical 2.